Previously on X-Men, the podcast that looks at X-Men comics, movies, shows, characters, and more. I'm Hilary.
I'm Nick.
And today we are talking about the Wolverine Anime.
We sure are.
Nick and I watched through the whole thing, all
That's
12
right.
episodes.
That's right.
And we have thoughts.
Yeah. Had you seen it before?
I think maybe I had started it before.
Yeah.
Once we got into the plot, it was not familiar, so I
Yeah.
don't think I'd seen the whole thing.
The Omega Red episode was really familiar to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And when you guys last time were talking about Omega Red in that episode, I was like, I saw him in that anime. And then there he was.
It's blowing my mind how much Omega Red is popping into my life right now.
You went from like zero to all
Zero
Omega Red.
and now it's just everywhere.
Now he's everywhere you look.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're talking about the Wolverine Anime.
Yes.
One of 4 Marvel animes.
Yeah.
You want to list them for me?
Sure. So they are Iron Man, Wolverine, X-Men, and Blade. Wolverine is the only character who pops up in all of them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That feels right.
It really does.
That feels right.
It really does.
In the Japanese version of all 4 of the animes, Wolverine is voiced by Rikiya Koyama. So he's in all 4 of those. In the English version, Wolverine is voiced by Milo Ventimiglia.
Right.
In all of the Marvel animes, except for the X-Men one, then we get good old Steve Blum back.
Yeah, the comparison.
But in the Wolverine one, it is Milo.
Which I don't understand because I guess let's just get right into it. He's not a good Wolverine.
He's a terrible Wolverine.
Yeah,
He's a
okay,
completely
all right,
unbearable Wolverine. And
Yeah.
I like that actor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He has strengths.
He was so, I knew him first as Jess from Gilmore Girls.
Yes, of course.
But then there was also Heroes, which he was great in.
He was great in that.
And Adrian Pasdar, who played the older Petrelli brother in Heroes, is the one who voices Tony Stark in these. So
That's right.
So
yeah.
I don't know if maybe
Well, the thing that people probably know him the most from now is This Is Us.
Right, yeah, This Is Us.
Which I haven't seen, but is huge.
Huge. But I wonder if Heroes just had so much goodwill in the beginning. I wonder if they just were like, oh, we gotta get him.
He had sort of
Just a hot period, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, it's terrible. I assume that they did it just for, stunt
The name
casting,
recognition,
basically.
I guess.
Or maybe he just really wanted to.
Maybe. But he says some classic Wolverine lines, and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I really wanted him to play a live-action Dick Grayson, and it never happened.
Oh, yeah, that'd be
I think
cool.
he would have been such a good Nightwing.
Yeah.
And we never got it. He did some episodes of Gotham, not as Dick Grayson, but he was in the Batman world. And even then I was like, just let it be Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
He's kind of aged out now.
That fits a lot better.
It does. Than Wolverine?
Well, I mean, the way he does Wolverine is if I did Wolverine. He doesn't have a Wolverine voice.
No,
and he's not a voice actor, so he can't really do something different. I don't know what Steve Blum sounds like in real life, but it sounds legit when he talks like Wolverine. But this whole thing is just, I'm Wolverine.
Hey, man. I'm Wolverine.
I'm the best there is. What I do, man.
Oh, jeez.
That's what it sounds like.
You're right. I can't argue.
So we had to switch back to the Japanese for a good chunk of the watch just to, because, boy, that was rough.
Yep.
But anyway, for the Wolverine anime specifically, so we have Milo doing the English for Wolverine. For Cyclops, because we get a cute little Cyclops cameo, which I was excited about.
Tail into episode 5, a little bit in episode, or episode 6 is the main Cyclops episode.
In the Japanese, that's Toshiyuki Morikawa. And in English, it's Scott Porter.
Scott Porter, who I would know from Friday Night Lights.
Oh, who's he in that?
He's Jason Street. He's the one who's injured in the first,
Oh, I didn't recognize his voice.
Yep.
Both of those voice actors are Cyclops in the X-Men anime.
Which makes it even weirder that Wolverine is different. But
yeah, they must have just had a shot. I don't know. Then we have Mariko. She is Fumiko Orakasa, or Gwendolyn Yao in the English version. Yep. Yao had been Mariko in the Wolverine and the X-Men. And I actually, that was really good.
Show. So she's reprising here.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I liked the choice of that voice actor, and it matches pretty well with the Japanese voice actor too. I liked that it had a deeper tone to it. And most of the female cast in this have kind of a deeper tone. They don't have the higher, kind of magical girl vibe that a lot of animes end up with. So I liked her vibe.
Yeah.
Yukio, which I was excited to see. I always love Yukio.
I love her in Deadpool. I mean, it's not really the character, but in Deadpool 2, when it's just basically her being like, hi, Deadpool, and him being like, hi, Yukio.
Oh, that's right.
Cracks me up.
That's Romy Park and Kate Higgins. Shingen is Hidekazu Shibata, or Fred Tatasciore.
He is the Hulk in a lot of Marvel stuff. He voices the Hulk in most things, like Agents of Smash and all that stuff.
How interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of a subdued tone.
It was, yeah.
In this.
A little, yep.
Omega Red in the Japanese is Ryuzaburo Otomo, or J.D. Blanc in the English. Kikyo Makage is Masato Hagawara and Steve Bloom.
There he is. Yeah, but it was...
So he's in this.
Yeah, but he was doing a very different kind of voice in that.
I didn't recognize it.
No.
I hear him in so many things, and I always peg him.
Yeah.
Every single time. I'm like, there he is. Never crossed my mind that was him.
Yeah. No, it was
that was weird.
It was really different. Both of those actors showed up again reprising that role in the Blade anime.
So that's our voice cast
Yeah.
for the Japanese and the English.
Yeah. Now, I know, you're a big anime fan. What's your preference? What do you usually do?
If I'm watching an anime, I almost always want to go straight for the Japanese.
Okay.
When I watch an English translation of an anime, sometimes they're really, really good. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the time, I'm just very distracted because mostly what it is they'll say phrases that you can tell are like kind of weirdly translating Japanese idioms. And they'll come up repeatedly. And it's hard to really, it's just distracting.
Yeah.
I just would rather hear it because I have like the subtitles. I don't speak Japanese,
right.
but like I enjoy hearing the way that they convey what they're doing. And I think that's just a translation issue in general.
Yeah.
Like if you listen to something, if you watch a show in its intended language, it's just better suited to that. Like the lines match up better and everything. I mean, it's the same as watching like a French movie or something. Like
Right.
It's just something different
That's true.
about seeing it authentically.
Yeah, it is true.
You,
All right.
you like doing the dub because you don't like
No,
having to stare at the screen.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it depends. I think this one, like, because I started this in English, and then it was just, I found it annoying. Like, I just found it kind of grating, and so switching was a lot better.
To the Japanese.
Yeah, I just think something about it just suited it better, just like you're saying. I mean, I think it just, the vibe was right in a way that it just wasn't in the English version. So
I think
don't
a
know.
lot of the time, because you're trying to fit it to something that already exists rather than creating from scratch.
Yeah, but it
loses something.
It's everything too. I mean, it's just like, the pacing, the way that the characters are represented on the screen just doesn't really gel with like how you would make like an American cartoon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not the same.
Yeah.
And so trying to like overlay them is just clumsy.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are exceptions to that, but
yeah, well,
that
I
seems
mean,
to be-
I've definitely seen, I wish I could think of examples, but I've definitely seen English dubs that were excellent.
Yeah. Well, this ran for 12 episodes. It premiered in the U.S. on G4. Do you remember G4? It was like Spike TV kind of vibe back in the day.
I didn't have like any of the interesting cable channels.
okay.
So like they are all just mystical nothings to me.
Just destinations on a map for you.
Just places that shows I liked would go to,
Well,
so I could not watch them anymore.
You could have watched this on G4 on July 23rd, 2011. Then it came out on DVD the following year. Here is the production synopsis. You tell me if you think it's good or not. The love of Logan's life, Mariko Yoshida, is forced back to Japan by her father Shingen, a notorious crime lord.
Was she not in Japan to begin with?
No, I don't think so. Because remember they're like on a boat and stuff?
I guess I just
Or
assumed
like in a
that
harbor.
was in Japan.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Anyway, once in Japan, she's forcibly betrothed to Kurahagi, a cruel criminal associate of her father, to solidify their business interests.
Classic.
Logan is determined to get her back, yet is plunged into a tangled web of corruption and violence at every turn. But with the help of a young assassin, Yukio, he just might manage to claw his way, get it?
Because he's Wolverine.
Claw his way through the criminal underworld to confront Shingen and save Mariko. That's pretty much it. Right?
That's pretty much it.
I mean, that's more or less.
Well, I remember about halfway through our watch, you were asking me if I thought we could summarize the whole show in one episode. And I was like, I mean, yeah. Because there's just a lot of like the broad strokes are very simple.
That's true. That is true.
Each episode is just them like fighting a different person in pursuit of the same goal.
Yeah. I think if I was going to just like distill down my reaction to this anime, it would be, I think that we would have had a really interesting 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if that's like an anime trope or what, but like
I think that probably
the pacing, the elongation of everything.
I think part of that is a reaction to kind of a common thing in anime. There's a pretty common, like anything with fighting in anime will have like long stretches of stillness and a lot of like waiting, and there's often a lot of the repetition, the kind of thing that he does where, I mean, Wolverine throughout the whole thing will be like, okay, I have to get from here to here, and this guy is in my way. Fight that guy. Next episode, I get to come from here to here.
Yeah.
This guy's in my way. Fight that guy. That's a pretty common episodic pattern in anime. So it was familiar to me.
Yeah.
It was more belabored in my experience than I've seen before.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I'm older and less patient.
Yeah.
But it did feel like there were long stretches where I was like, okay, I'm bored now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, 12 episodes, about a half hour each. And if you take out, opening credits and things, you're probably still looking at like 5+ hours of content for a pretty thin plot overall. I will say, I speaking of Omega Red, I did enjoy the backstory on Omega Red. Like everything about how he was, dependent on them and how Wolverine like took what he needed to survive and all of that. I felt like that really added some depth to it and made Omega Red almost sympathetic. Like,
that was a really interesting little
kind of put Wolverine in the villain role a little bit.
Yeah.
For at least for Omega Red's perspective, which,
Well, as I'm talking about the broad strokes being very simple, I mean, there are sort of certain plot arcs that for a 12 episode run, it has quite a lot of those. Because when you start, you have Wolverine and his FBI friend. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I liked that character, though.
And so that was sort of
a cool
like
relationship.
Yeah. He the FBI friend gets Wolverine involved in this whole thing because the FBI friend knows about this crime lord situation. He's like, oh, your girlfriend is in trouble. And so they sort of have a little bit of a run. And then that ends. And then after that, we have kind of a little vignette with Omega Red.
Yes.
And then after that, I think it sort of loses its focus a little bit because, like, those are some nice, like, this is happening. Now this is happening. After that, it's pretty much we go to Madripoor and just, like, fight.
Yeah. That's
aimlessly forever.
I was thinking the same thing. Madripoor is kind of the line in the sand where it's stuff is going on, and then the second half we spend basically in Madripoor, and it's
a lot of Madripoor-iness.
A lot. But the transition between pre-Madripoor and the Madripoor era is the Blackbird showing up. And that was just such a cool moment.
That was
like,
cool.
You see the ship and it's so recognizable. And you get Cyclops and you just have him for that episode. He's basically like Wolverine's Uber driver.
He just flies him from one place to the other.
To Madripoor. But
I thought he was going to stay and like help him on Madripoor. And he just like off he went.
He just went off. It would have been cool. Or to have... It never comes back in the end either. Even if Cyclops like picked him up and be like, "What did you do?" Like, you don't get that. But I felt like for the small amount of space that was devoted to Wolverine and Cyclops, the relationship was perfect.
It was perfect. It was funny. Yukio was like, "I thought he was your friend."
Yeah.
They just are sniping at each other like an old couple. It's really funny.
It is funny, but it's like it's I feel like that's hard to do because they are clearly they have a deep bond, but they're so bitchy to each other.
Yeah.
It's
I think
really funny.
I think that the Wolverine Cyclops thing is such a delicate thing because they don't like each other.
Right.
Like it's not like they just, they pick on each other, but like deep down they don't like each other.
Right.
Like they do have that bond.
Right.
Like they're family.
Yeah.
They don't like each
right.
other.
Respect. Maybe there's some respect there.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's very
well,
funny.
I loved it.
It was fun.
I loved it.
But then, so Cyclops dropped him off at Madripoor, and then all of that stuff.
Yeah.
On Madripoor, he meets Min,
yeah.
who's like a little girl, who's like grown up on Madripoor and is like part of this crime family and all this stuff. And I thought that was a fun little thing because that's just a thing with him, like teaming up with young girls and like just being the big gruff guy with the cute little girl.
That's for sure. That's the thing we see with Wolverine over and over again.
Her, we had the magical girl voice.
Yeah, she did.
She was cute. She was a cute little nugget.
Yep. I'm interested to hear your take on it, like, as an anime, because I feel like the animes that I've watched start to finish maybe start and end with Outlaw Star. Like, I don't know that I've... Honestly, I don't know that
Have you only seen Outlaw Star?
I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of other things, and I've seen, like, movies and stuff, but, like, as far as series go... I think it is just Outlaw Star. So, like, I've got nothing to contribute to this portion of the conversation. So let me ask you, as somebody who's a fan of anime, who's watched many an anime, does this succeed for what it's trying to do? If you're approaching it as a fan of anime.
I've talked before we read a manga.
Misfits. Raina Telgemeier. You weren't happy at all.
Yeah, and my takeaway from that was that it was someone trying to do manga.
Yeah.
From outside of that world, and that didn't work. This was actual anime creators making an anime. It felt like an anime to me. I mean, it's a genre that I prefer in anime. Like, I like the kind of like dark, action-y, but not too, because it can get pretty darn dark. But
I mean, I feel like just from what little I know, the character of Wolverine makes a lot of sense for an anime because he's sort of...
Yeah, he's got, I mean, like, even in the comics, he's deliberately presented as like a Ronin, but...
Right, obviously the Claremont, like, Wolverine, you know, the quintessential Wolverine story sort of suits itself to that.
Yeah, it does. I thought it was interesting to watch kind of a Japanese translation of that character, because Wolverine in this anime is not the American Wolverine. And I know he's Canadian, I mean the American portrayal of of Wolverine. He is very much a Japanese loner. Type.
Okay.
And I thought that was really interesting to see because it didn't feel like they were like doing his character wrong or anything. They were just doing their cultural take on what this type is. And I thought that was really interesting. And like even just his character design.
I was gonna say that.
Because I think in the X-Men anime, I think he is a little more of the typical stocky look.
Yeah.
In this, he's like tall and thin.
He's very spindly.
He's leaning against walls with a cigarette. Like it reminded me of like Spike Spiegel in Cowboy Bebop.
I knew that one.
That's just a very familiar archetype of like the too cool for school tough guy is just different. Like it's not an aggressive toughness. It's just like I don't have time for this toughness.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting to see.
I did too, because I don't know that I've ever seen Wolverine presented as not a brawler, you know, and he's presented more as just like he is indestructible. Yeah. And I'm just used to seeing Wolverine have to struggle. Like, he does it, you know what I mean? But it takes effort, you know? He's really, like, he's got the rage. He's got the, like, he's really... And this, he just felt a little bit more...
He's almost like Juggernaut.
Yeah. Just kind of like, whatever, you know? Like,
there was a line in there somewhere about... Someone was observing a fight and said, like, you know, he'd be dead without his
healing factor. Yeah, they made some point about, he's doing it, but he's in so much pain. And that was kind of like the only time you really see that element.
That's something that is very interesting that they didn't go there at all, because that's something about his character.
Yeah,
he just
how he just pushes through the pain. Like, no matter what. Like, it still hurts him, it still costs him, but, like, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
So then would you say that this just functions pretty well as an anime on its own? Like, if you don't care about Wolverine, you could just, like, sit down and watch it and it works?
No, I don't. I think it's just sort of... I think as, like, a take on the X-Men universe from an anime perspective, I think it's an interesting piece. But I don't think that, like, if you didn't know anything about X-Men or you didn't care about Wolverine or whatever, and you just liked anime, you're looking for an anime to pick up, I don't think this is one of those.
Oh, all right.
I don't think that it's really a strong enough show that you would just watch it along with any other anime that you happen to be watching. I think you have to care about Wolverine.
Got it. All right.
That's just my perspective.
Okay. All right. So then let me flip that then and be like, if you're not an anime fan, is there enough here to bring you in if you're a Wolverine or an X-Men fan?
Well, I mean, that seems like a question for you because you're not an anime fan.
That's true. I mean, then I guess I would kind of lean towards no, because he certainly has moments where I'm like, oh, Wolverine. And it feels much more like Wolverine to me when you're watching it with the Japanese audio versus the English. I think that, like, the toughness is a little bit more clear to understand.
Because the Japanese man is doing what they intended with that character and, like, coming from that kind of cultural perspective. Whereas Milo is putting his stuff on top of that and, like, overlaying it in a way that I don't really think works.
It just comes across as sort of faux macho. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't quite do it.
Yeah.
So
if you have to put on a voice to sound tough, that just undercuts it right away.
Then you may have a problem. Yeah, so I mean, that is why I preferred the Japanese version, but I just sort of feel like sitting down to watch it, the plot just feels thin to me, and it just feels like the time it takes to get from place to place and step to step is just too much. It takes, 3 times as long as I would want it to. So, yeah, I would kind of say no in that regard. But, I mean, it made me, the one scene with Cyclops made me a little bit more jazzed about maybe watching the X-Men anime because that just felt right.
It had a good energy.
And so maybe seeing sort of a team dynamic in this setting will function differently in a way that will appeal to me more. I don't know. But this, I was very much like, I watched it because we were going to do it for the episode. I don't know that, like, if I started this on my own, that I would have felt obligated to see it through.
Yeah. Well, probably part of it, too, is that maybe if you're not an X-Men fan, if you're a Wolverine fan.
Yeah.
Maybe a Wolverine fan who doesn't care about anime would love this.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't want to watch 12 episodes of Wolverine, so this is not for me
okay.
at all. But, like, if you were a big Wolverine fan, which is everyone except me,
right,
they would probably enjoy this.
Okay.
And I think it's a good cross-section for the anime fan, the X-Men fan.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing to have.
Yeah.
Even if it's not necessarily exactly my cup of tea.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to have watched it.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed it. It's just the length of it was stretched, but I enjoyed it when I was into it.
Yeah, same.
Okay, well, thanks for watching that with me.
Absolutely.
And talking through it. Next time, we're going to be doing Sanctuary Parts 1 and 2 of the animated series.
Ooh,
so we'll be back into that.
Okay.
So that'll be fun. And that's it.
All right.
Thank you to Prophetic Music for our theme song. Previously on X-Men is brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. Other shows on the network that you should definitely check out include 90s Music Got Me Like, This Endorian Life, and 9021 Here We Go. Follow us on Facebook or Twitter at Previously on X. Please rate, subscribe, and share this show wherever you get your podcasts. Bye.
Bye.